um, Vet Radio Syndicate and the Warrior Wallet. I don't know if we're having some difficulties for some people, but we're going to broadcast this anyway. And hopefully our guest, Kevin Laura from Revolution Mortgage, is going to join us here in a second. So today, one of the things that we're going to cover today is one of the things that's going on with mortgages and end of the year, and part of the process is the fact that people think that there's got to be a right time or a right process or a right time to get on. Usually, one of the things that Kevin is going to we're going to talk about today, and welcome Kevin, Laura.
Hey, what's up, George?
Hey, how you doing?
Doing good, man.
So today, one of the things that we're talking about is that to our people is that we are talking about one, your firm is Revolution Mortgage, I'm sorry.
Yes.
And number two is that people delay the process when they're getting into a house because they don't think their credit is right, or they don't think that the application process is going to take a little longer. So what I want to cover today is talk a little bit about the setup into transition into getting the mortgage, and some of the time frames that people are going to encounter when they are getting into a mortgage, the application process, maybe having to do some credit repair or having to do some positioning in order to get a better experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So just like you said, a lot of people are always kind of nervous to get their credit pulled, for one. So, I mean, credit's there to be utilized. Most of the time when I have people apply, I'm always going to look to see what we can do to actually increase the score. A lot of people just think that you got to have perfect credit, and that's really not the case. I mean, we can go down to 600 on a credit score for a VA loan to get things approved. I can't tell you how many times I've had it where people are delaying the process, not wanting to start things. And, I'll talk to them for a couple months. And the fact is, if we would have just started day one, like I asked them to just get the application done and let us look at credit, I mean, we could have used that 3 months and probably been in a position where everything would be good at that point. So one thing to kind of avoid is a lot of these credit repair companies out there. They like to do things very slow. It's not something I would recommend. There's one company I work with that I will send people to if they've got a lot of things going on with credit, multiple collection companies and late payments and all kinds of things. Sometimes it's beneficial, but most of the time you can get things cleaned up fairly easy. And I don't charge anything to do that. So it's just getting the application filled out, we pull credit, and then we can get a plan together. So if you've had lates on things, really the only thing that we can do to fix that a lot of times is just getting further away from it. So it might take a couple months, but time is everything, especially when you're talking about the real estate market right now, because things just keep going up in price. And, I want everybody to try to get into a home before prices are up so much and interest rates go up too. I mean, I'm not sure what's going to happen with the national debt going up and everything here. I don't know if rates are going to be affected by that. I mean, we're still low right now, averaging right around 3% with everything. So now is just a really good time to get started. And it sucks when I'm working with somebody and they hesitate to do things. And, then we finally do it a few months later. And it's just always funny how it works out, where it's going to take about 3 more months then to get things going. So there's a few steps involved. Credit's one piece of it. Income's another piece of it, obviously. With VA, it's usually not so much that we have an issue with people having money. If we need to, we can get closing costs covered a lot of times by the seller. So there's some strategic ways to do that. So it's not necessarily a money thing a lot of times with veterans when we're trying to get them approved. It's usually just the credit issue. And sometimes there can be an issue with employment. So VA's got a really weird rule where if you were active duty and you come out, they actually want you to be in a new position as a civilian for 12 months before you can use that income. So the theory behind that basically is, if someone's active duty, and let's say they're a helicopter pilot. So if you come back into the civilian world and you go work as an Amazon delivery driver, there's no consistency there, and they've just seen a lot over time where people go and they do that and then they don't like it and they try something else, so on and so forth. So they want to see the consistency. So
by the way, that term that you're talking about, we've covered that in the veteran community. It's called chasing a paycheck.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
And so and for the people, we've covered this on a couple of shows before. One of the problems that happens, especially when people get out of the military, and it doesn't matter what it is, they start chasing a paycheck, and what that means is they go find the first job that they can find, and as a result of it, they wind up getting into a job that they maybe not be fulfilled. And usually they did a thing on here, and I've got to see if it's true or not, but the average veteran in the first 5 years of separating from the military holds about 3 jobs.
That makes sense. I mean,
and if any of you guys have seen different, let me know. But I think it usually takes the first few years of your transition out. Now, there's a lot of veterans, I'm not saying all, but there's a lot of veterans that get out and they have a job lined up. They know exactly what they're going to do. But for the most part, a lot of them, they do that. They chase the paycheck. They get the first job that they can get. And then it starts becoming a race. And so, and that's one of the reasons why the VA and regardless of what you think about the VA, that's one of the reasons they ask you to do that, is because they want you to be a little bit more grounded, if that's the right term.
Yeah. And that's the only type of loan that they require that too. So most of the time when you start into something, as long as it's a W-2 job, we can go off of an offer letter, or even just when you get your first paycheck. But the VA is strict on that. So, and that's just people that were active duty and they're coming out of it. So the only little caveat to that is, like I was saying, if you're a helicopter pilot in the Army or the military, whatever branch, and then you come as a civilian and you're going and flying a helicopter, that's the same thing. So you could actually use that right away. So when you've got people that are in there just as infantry or whatever, it's really hard to come find a job doing that specific task to make money. So it's a little bit harder on those guys when they've got a different specialty and coming out trying to find a job as a civilian doing that. So that is something that I want people to be aware of. If you're active and coming out, definitely try to find a job that you're going to like and get your feet planted there and stay for a year so you can use the loan. So a lot of people will already have a job, if they're reserves, and maybe they'll deploy for 9-10 months, whatever the normal plan is. And then when they come back, they can start right back in that job. So those people would be allowed to use that income right away just because they were already working that. And then they went and did a tour and they're coming back. But for people that have been on just like the service for a 4-year stint or whatever, and they're coming out of it, then, it kind of sucks that they're a little bit more stringent on who they allow to qualify right away for that. But, those are all reasons why I like to have the conversation with people as early as possible. That way we can put that plan together. And if we know we're waiting a year for that job to get in under them, then that gives us a year to plan everything. There's been very, very few cases where if I've got an entire 12 months, there's no reason why we couldn't fix credit issues in that time frame.
Right. And just to cover this, how long does it usually take on a cycle for you to fix credit if somebody is having some credit issues?
Yeah, it's a great question. So it's a little weird. I mean, credit doesn't report every day. So, I mean, if you've got a credit card and you maxed it out, it's a $5,000 limit on a credit card and it's at $5,000. So your utilization rate's 100% on that. If you make a $2,500 payment, cutting it in half, that payment is not going to be sent to the credit bureaus instantly. So every credit card has a closing date. So typically the closing date on a credit card is 3 to 5 days after when your minimum payments due. So if your minimum payments due on the 15th, you make that payment by the 20th. That's usually when they shoot out the updated balance on the card to the 3 major credit bureaus. So it's not real time where everything's just going to get paid automatically. So a lot of times when you're trying to fix people's credit like that, it's usually 30 to 45 days, I would tell people, for a cycle, just because that's how long it's going to take. So there are things that we can do to get things updated quicker. So if somebody was in a rush and they knew their credit card was maxed out, and sometimes that's all it takes with people. You'd be surprised, some people will only have one credit card and it's got a $300 limit on it. So if that thing's got $280 on it, it's pretty much maxed out. So that person could basically pay it down to $10. That's the other thing that's kind of bad knowledge. Everybody thinks to pay the card off. You get a better score actually by leaving the small balance on there. So if they were to do that, a lot of times score can go up 50, 60, 70, even 100 points in some cases. So everybody's really just got their own unique credit score. It really is unique to each person. It's almost like a fingerprint, just because you don't know what anyone has. They could have collections. Sometimes there's collections on there people don't even know about. It's pretty bad, because Credit Karma is actually, it's a free site that you can use to monitor stuff, and it's great, but it actually only gives you 2 of the 3 bureaus. So a lot of times things can sneak on there and get in collections, and you don't even know about it. So.
Right. What is it? Let me ask you a question. Not just for veterans, for people in general. What is one misconception that they have for credit that maybe some people have not thought about?
I think the biggest misconception is probably paying everything to zero. So
okay.
A lot of people are against credit cards, which, in today's world, a credit card is a great asset to have. A lot of people are afraid of them because they just think they're going to use it and not pay it back. It's pretty much common sense to be responsible with a credit card. If you get a credit card, it's got a $500 limit on it. You can max it out if you want, but make sure every month you're making at least the minimum payment, and you're not going over the limit on it. That's the biggest thing. It's not that hard to be responsible with it. So the way your credit score is going to start building is that credit card. So a lot of people will go and not have one at all. And so maybe all they have is a car loan or a student loan. The thing that's great about a credit card, it reports every month, right? So the best thing to do is make sure you're using it at least once a month, and then paying it down to like a $10 balance. So you don't want to pay it all the way to zero. If you do that, there's nothing to report out to the bureaus, so they don't have anything to gauge your responsibility with credit off of. So that's why it's so important. Some people are just so against it. They were raised to only use cash if they want something, but the credit card, even from a security standpoint, you really want to use a credit card only when you're doing online purchases. It's basically, it creates a safe barrier between your actual checking account and all of your money, really. Your debit card, people don't know this, but your debit card is directly linked to your checking account. So if somebody steals that and they know what they're doing, they can go in and just really take your money. That's actually your money. Now, a credit card, it's basically the bank's money. So if you've got a credit card with Bank of America, you're using their money to buy what you want, and you're paying them back. And every major credit card out there is going to cover you in a fraud or a theft type situation. So
which is something that people don't think about, and one of the issues, and one of the other issues.
It's just, fraud is so crazy right now in society, and people are always getting information stolen. It happened to me once at a gas station. People can put little readers on the credit card machines. They can do it at ATMs. They can do it at a gas pump. And what it does is actually, when you put your card in, it a lot of times just looks like it's part of the pump. And then it scans your card and it saves it, and then they can go use your credit card. But you're protected there because it's technically not your money. If that's your debit card, they have your number. They could get right into your account if they know what they're doing. So the other big benefit with the credit card, besides the security, it's you can get so many rewards on things now. Almost everybody's got one that they're doing unlimited rewards, meaning you don't have a cap. So you can get at least 1.5%. A lot of them will have then like 3% on gas stations, 2% at a grocery store.
And all of that adds up.
It really does. It really does add up. I use my credit cards for everything. I've got a couple different ones with different rewards I use places, but it's almost like going into Kroger and not having a Kroger Plus card. you see how they put everything on sale in the aisles, but if you don't scan that Kroger Plus card in, I mean, you're not getting those savings. So I like to phrase it that way for people, because it's almost like going to a store and not using their shopper's card and not getting the discounts. If you're buying stuff without that credit card, you're losing out on 2-3% of what you're buying every year, and it adds up really fast. It really does. It's a huge benefit.
Also, the other thing is that a lot of the people, one of the things that too, to keep in mind, and we also, I want to post this up on the thing for any of you guys that are, want to get a hold of Kevin. This is his information: vetloaninfo.com. His name is Kevin Laurer. His number's at the bottom of the page, and you can, get a hold of him. He's in every state in the United States. If you're listening to this, with the exception of New York, you're not in New York. Is there any other state that you're not in right now?
I'm not 100% accurate on that, to be honest with you. So,
but I mean, he's
in most states.
Yeah, in most states. So if you guys are listening and you're looking to get a mortgage anywhere in the U.S., I mean,
I've got people in other states though too. So I mean, feel free to reach out to me. My cell phone's right on the website there. I think I've got the email forwarded correctly. If not, I'll make sure I do.
Right.
But yeah, just shoot me a text, guys. I mean, I'm always working on the phone. So if you need something, any advice on what you want to do, if I can't do it, I know somebody who can. So it can kind of be your one-stop shop, and I'll help you get it figured out.
Right. But VRS is trying to do is, make sure that you have access. All right, Bradley, let's, and Juan, two things. So I refinanced my VA loan from $375 to $225, saved $200 a month. My issue is whether or not to pay the savings to credit card debt or keep paying the principal on the house. I know it's a question with many issues.
Absolutely get the credit card debt paid off first. Yeah. Always. That's a no-brainer, man. That credit card's going to be, I mean, the lowest I've ever seen a credit card was like 8%. And I think that was an employee that worked there. I mean, most credit cards I have are 18, 19%. You got a really good rate. 2.25 is incredible. So, I mean, you've got a good rate. First thing first, always get rid of that credit card debt, man. That's a huge expense. So
to give you an example, your credit card, you're probably paying 17. You're paying 17% on it. Mm-hmm. Or, even if you've got a good credit, even USAA, you're paying 12.9. Or if you have it with Navy Federal, the Navy Federal, I think I can look that up, but Navy Federal has a 12.9% card.
Yeah, and it's going to vary by credit score too. I mean, they'll give you a range, but if your credit score sucks, then you're not going to get the best rate.
Yeah, but if you've got $13,000 in credit card debt, here's the thing, Bradley. To give you a position on this, your house is only going to appreciate at 3% a year. That's roughly, give or take, where in this marketplace, historically, homes appreciated 3.2 a year. Credit card debt is 17% a year. Let's just say, even if you've got a great rate of 15%. So there's a 12% offset. You're better off paying the credit card debt down than paying off.
The other thing that you can do, I mean, I don't know if your loan officer talked to you about this. I mean, anytime that I'm looking at somebody when I'm doing a refinance.
So hold on a second. A Stone Vet, what are you asking about do you find the lowest interest rates? And here's, okay, we got two questions. For mortgage, are you asking if Kevin will find the lowest rate? Yes, he will. And Bradley, and this is just a suggestion, and I don't know your finances, but I'm going to go to the Dave Ramsey School. Maybe get a home loan line of credit, pay off your credit card debt, and
that's an option.
That is an option, because you get a home loan line of credit. You can talk to Kevin.
If you just refinance, then you're obviously qualified. So the best way to do an equity line, that's going to be to go to your local bank. So equity lines are a little weird. I don't even do those. They're just more complicated. So when you're doing the refinance, you can always do a cash out as an option, but the VA offers an EARL instant interest. Lower interest loan that doesn't include doing the cash out.
Hey Juan, call Kevin.
You can call me too, and we can talk about it. But
if you're building a new home and needing to find the lowest interest rate, call Kevin. He's at Vet Loan Info. His phone number's at the bottom of the page. Just call him, and he'll get your thing. But They don't offer them.
Yeah, you can shoot me a text.
Bradley, if you're a veteran, go to open an account at either USAA or Navy Federal, and or your local credit union, and they will get you one. And they will, that's part of their, part of the process. A home line of credit, home loan.
Credit unions are the best for that. I totally agree with George on that. So I did one with Right Pat recently, but any local credit union would love to have you, and it's a good resource to have besides your other bank. Credit unions notoriously are always going to give you a little bit better of a rate on a auto loan. Anything you're trying to borrow money, the credit unions for some reason are usually just better on rate for that.
Right. And here's the other thing to keep in mind too with you guys is that also, if you ever have a question about this, send it to us. For those that, I know that some of you, have seen my show. Some of you have not. I used to have a Series 6, 63, and 7. So I was a stockbroker, sold financial instruments. So I can help you, at least guide you in a direction that might get you some information you might have not thought about. Kevin is a licensed mortgage broker, and we offer a lot of information to the to people that we want to get you. We want to get you the best information out there.
Yeah. And like I said, I have no problem referring you to somebody either. I mean, I want to help everybody. So if there's something I can't do, trust me, I've got a friend for that. I mean, that pretty much goes through everything in life. You always got a friend for that, right? That's what you want. I can handle a lot of your financial stuff, guys, and I have no problem giving you free advice whenever you need it. So I'm always.
And here's the thing that too is that because one of the problems one of the reasons we're offering a lot of this is because, and you're right about this. One of the things why I decided to, bring the Warrior Wallet back and do this is because a lot of things that I've seen in the veteran community is people just don't have enough information, or the information that they've been handed to them is wrong. Or people are, I don't know what the right term is. I don't know that I don't want to say that they're being scammed because that's not the right,
but it's, and a lot of times, George, it's not even that they're being scammed or whatever. Sometimes the person they're talking to wasn't trained properly.
That's a more likely scenario because a lot of times, one of the things that, people have been brought up is, we talk about, there was this happened the other day is that, we were talking about the difference between IRAs, the Roth IRA and all of them. And there are people on active duty that have opened up IRAs right now and are doing really well on them.
Absolutely. That's a great way to save money.
And it's a great way to save money. And then, one of the other problems is that the fact that the people on the IRA, that are doing our IRAs are also, the financial advice, and I think part of the problem is social media. Is there you throw so much information out there, you don't know where to sift through it to get to the right position.
Absolutely.
And part of it is that people talk about, there are grants for closing costs. Well, if you didn't know that, then that's an extra. I don't know what the average is, maybe $2,000 or $3,000 in closing costs, but that's paid back through there are some grants out there, some of the VA, and the reason here's one of the things that people have a tendency to, I think, I don't know what the right term is on this, and Kevin, you can do that, is the VA wants to help a veteran financially to get to loan, because this is something they don't tell you. People that own homes on the average make more money. That's and this is I have a 401k from a job I left 6 years, 14K. I would not. I mean, there's no, if it's doing fine, Bradley, I wouldn't move it.
Yeah, you would have to roll it over too. As soon as you pull that out, you pay taxes on it. So if you do a rollover, you can't touch it at all. As soon as it's in your possession, you pay a penalty tax and you pay an income tax. So
if it's equity funds, if it's equity funds, Here's one of the other things that I always also recommend about, to people as a whole, which seems to go unnoticed, is that get yourself an accountant or bookkeeper and sit down and
Absolutely. Yeah.
see.
Financial advisors usually don't charge much, and they'll meet with you for free.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
it,
we used to have. I used to meet with people, free all the time, because if I'm not going to close a client on the first sit down. I want to see where you're at financially. I want to sit down. A half hour of time is usually all it takes, is to get a snapshot of where you're at. But one of the problems has been that people as a whole are, I don't know what the right term is, but they're getting, well, I got my cousin's hairdresser's brother. Yeah,
yeah.
no, don't do that. Go get to the people that
Yeah,
are
don't believe what your buddy's saying. I mean, who knows what they're talking about? There's so much
and
bad info out there. It's like the
and,
game
and
of telephone. By the time it gets back to
right,
you, you can't understand anything that was going on, and your original question's completely ignored. So, yeah,
right, and then
that
the
does it.
other one of the other issues too that you have is that um, people that are going to need financial advice, they're usually the ones that have least access to it. Because one of the problems has been is that, if you're an accredited investor, that means with a net worth of over $1 million, you have different avenues. But if you're just an investor with, you know, 10, let's say $5,000 or $10,000, you are going to get attracted to a lot. The people that are going to come after, are just, they're just not interested. And so a lot of that problems becomes is that you've got to get good advice. And you need to understand that there are people out there that will help you, because they're looking for, long term. I help people. We had some clients that were, that when I was helping them, there was, I knew that at that point they were only making $50,000 a year, maybe 60, but I knew that they down the road they were going to make a lot more. So there's an incentive there. And it's the same thing with veterans. I one of the reasons that it just bothers me in the veteran community is that there's so much misinformation out there, and which leads people to making bad decisions, which then leads them to have financial problems.
Right.
So um, is there anything else that is there anything else we need to cover? Because we've done a pretty good job, and we've been on for a half hour, and I think that
Yeah,
that's a
yeah. I just, I always tell people just don't delay. If you're wanting to buy a house, it's not going to hurt your credit to get your score pulled. If you need to talk to somebody, I'm here. Or if you've got a loan officer, talk to them. Anybody that's a good loan officer should be able to help you get your credit in a good spot and give you the advice that you need, so you're in a position to buy eventually. So I mean, just don't delay on it. Time's precious. That's something that we can't ever get back. So it's always good to just not hesitate and get things going. That's really the best advice I can leave you guys with.
yeah. If I start, no, Kevin does not, about running a 501c3. Bradley, if you're going to run one of those, I would go talk to a lawyer. If you're going to start a 501c3, you need a sound legal advice, because those are, and especially now the IRS has really been a little bit more stringent in looking at them. So I think that you've got to have a little bit more. You need to have an attorney or a CPA. And I don't know what state you're in, but I would talk to a CPA first. But if an attorney that's going to file for you needs to have the declaration for that, and that is something you need to think about. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in to the VRS Warrior Wallet. Kevin, as always, it's a pleasure. And
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
we thank you for your support. And if you're in Arizona, there's plenty of lawyers out there, but I would go talk to an attorney, because they're going to you need 501c3s can get you in a lot of trouble if you're not doing everything right. You don't have the charter correct. Yeah, I mean, to refinish furniture and donate, that's a great thing. I think that's something, like I said, Anytime you're doing donations of goods and services, yeah, you're going to have to keep a really good book.
Go through the right channels on it. You don't want to do something to try to help people and then screw yourself.
Right.
You definitely want to talk to an attorney on that. I mean, they usually, almost any attorney is going to do a free consultation too. As long as they're getting something in the end where they can charge you, they don't mind talking to you for free. You just got to start that conversation.
Yep. Yes, sir. Anyway, thank you again for you guys for tuning in, and we will catch you guys next week.
The recognized